Welcome to my hip mobility flow, specifically to help you have better poops. We are going to be focusing on opening our rib cage. That diaphragm helps to open more space through the pelvic floor, as well as some focused hip openers so that you can take this newfound length into the bathroom to have a better bowel movement. I highly recommend this series, doing it just before you're going to try and poop, especially if you're constipated, and also as a great flow to incorporate into your weekly routine to keep all of these areas flexible and moving well so you can have good bowel movements on the regular. You can also, if you'd like additional tips on how to set yourself up for being able to poop well, and also some tips to combat additional challenges with constipation, be sure to check out the links down below in the description. So let's get started on the mat. You're gonna bring your 2 yoga blocks with you. We're gonna come into a supported child's pose position. I like to take the 2 blocks underneath my front ribs, and I'm gonna fold over my legs here and support my body on my forearms. My yoga blocks are here to block my front ribs so that as I take my deep breaths in this position, it actually helps to open the back of my rib cage, which is also going to help open the back of my pelvic floor. So in this position, go ahead and take a nice deep breath in through your nose if that's available. Draw that in for a count of 4. Letting your rib cage fully expand, and then exhale. Also over a count of 4 to let all of that air out. Continue to cycle with your 4-second breath in and out as I continue to explain what this position is helpful for. So as you take that breath in, really try to fill the back of your rib cage. Notice how that breath also helps to create expansion through the low back and down in and around your tailbone. The diaphragm works with the pelvic floor to create length and expansion on our inhale. And as we exhale, both of those areas contract and recoil. So using this breath in this way to really facilitate that expansion through the back of the rib cage is also going to help create expansion through your 2 sits bones and specifically around the pelvic floor that is around the anus. Once again, helping for having better bowel movements. From here, we're going to go into our second exercise, which is our adductor rock back. So your adductor is your inner thigh, and this muscle often needs more flexibility and length so that we can get down into that deep squat position, which is also what we need in order to have a better position on the toilet. So notice here as I rock back, I'm just gliding my pelvis back over the leg underneath me, holding there for a moment, and then slowly coming back up. I'm feeling a significant stretch through the inner thigh of my leg that is extended, and that's going to help create more space and length also for the pelvic floor. Continue to think about your breath here, drawing that air in through your nose if that's available, thinking about directing that breath into the back of your rib cage, still in this position as well. And just starting to try to melt all the way back as far as is comfortable. If you don't have the same flexibility as I do, that's totally fine. You're just going to glide back as far as is available for you to feel that stretch. Hold there for a moment and then come back up. Also, if this is too intense for your toe to be tucked underneath you, you can have that foot flat. And then once again, gliding all the way back as far as is available and then returning back up. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So again, just continuing with your breath. Now we're lengthening through the left inner thigh. And notice if you feel one side being especially tighter than the other. If that's true for you, then I recommend doing some of this extra work on that tighter side, because tightness in the inner thigh also means we have tightness in the pelvic floor. And we want to be able to work on increasing that flexibility in both places so that we can help have more space for easier bowel movements as well. So we're continuing to work on that rock back position. This is also helping us to work on the flex of the front of the hip here of the leg that is underneath me. You can notice how this is a little bit like a deep squat as well. Similar mechanics, which is also what we want for optimal pooping mechanics on the toilet. One more here. And then finally, we're going to come into a supported deep squat position. So I like to take both of my yoga blocks here, And I'm going to sit in a deep squat position here. So you're going to bring those knees open wide. Use your hands to kind of hug around the front of your shins. And I want you to think about really finding that nice tall spine. You're going to hold here and breathe once again, thinking about that breath into the back of your rib cage, noticing and making sure your shoulders are not elevating a lot with each breath. We want that breath to come down into our rib cage and our torso to help create length through the pelvic floor. If this position on these two yoga blocks is really challenging for you to get down into and or to create a nice tall position of your spine, go ahead and stack another yoga block or potentially use a different stool that has a little bit more height. Find that right height for you where you can maintain that length of your spine and then be able to breathe in this position. And as you improve your flexibility for your hip and your pelvic floor, you'll be able to come into a deeper squat position like this over time. Take one more big deep breath in through your nose, finding that expansion all the way down to the tailbone, and then letting that air all the way out. So this flow is meant to help improve that flexibility of our diaphragm with our breath, which helps to create more flexibility down into and around the pelvic floor, as well as to create more opening across the hips as well. As I've mentioned in previous videos, the hip muscles work with the pelvic floor muscles. So if there's tightness in one, there is tightness in the other. And when we have extra tightness in these places, it makes it much more difficult to have a bowel movement easily. So as you work on hip flexibility, working on more breath work to help create more flexibility also through the pelvic floor, all of this collectively helps you to have better poops overall. So thank you for joining me for this mobility flow, and I hope that this helps you have more success in the bathroom.